Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are going to continue with measurement. Our first lesson involved just the metric system. Now we're going to be working with the metric system and the U.S. customary system at the same time. But we're going to be focused only on length. So our goal is that we're going to convert length measurements in order to solve multi-step word problems. Okay, our first vocab word is the metric system. So as you learned in the last video, the metric system is the international or worldwide system of measurement. Now specifically for length, what the metric system involves is meters. So if you remember, the meters we abbreviate with an M. And then what we are going to be dealing with in 5th grade is we're also going to be talking about kilometers, which we abbreviate with a KM, and then millimeters, which we abbreviate with 2 M's. So hopefully you remember from the last video how you're going to be converting between those. Okay, what we're adding tonight now is we're also going to be talking about the U.S. customary system, which is the standard unit of measurement in just the U.S. So what we use to measure is, what you're probably most familiar with is feet, because we use a ruler. A ruler is 1 foot long, so I'm going to go back to yard in a minute. But this is a ruler, which is 1 foot long, and it consists of 12 inches. Inches. What you might not have seen very often, but if you think about those really big rulers, those are actually called yardsticks. And they look like a gigantic ruler. They're called a yardstick. And what they are is they are the size of a yard. Well, a yard is 3 feet, or it could be called 36 inches. Okay, an inch is just one of the small ones on either a ruler or yardstick. Okay, so it's the really small one. We always think about like an inch is like the tip of like a finger, like this is about an inch, but it's a smaller measurement, okay? So an inch, as we wrote above here, there's 12 inches equal 1 foot. Okay, all 3 of these, yard, feet, and inches, you will need to memorize. You just need to know them. You're going to have to know them. You'll be given questions where they won't tell you any information, and you'll have to know. Now for the mile though, this is a really large distance that we use. You will not need to have this one memorized. They will always give it to you. So what they'll tell you is either they'll tell you 1 mile equals 5,280 feet, or they might tell you for a certain problem 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. But for the mile, usually if a question's requiring you to know that, that will be provided for you. Okay, now since you have to memorize yard, feet, and inches, there's kind of a little drawing that I always used to do to help me. Is a yard is equal to 3 feet, and each foot is equal to 12 inches. So the reason I like this picture is it kind of shows everything I need to know. 1 yard is the same as 3 F's or 3 feet, or 1 yard is the same as 12 inches, 12 inches, and 12 inches, which equals 36 inches. So everything I need to know can be found from that drawing. Okay, what you're going to be doing is once you have this memorized, you're going to be creating these things called tables. So if I wanted to convert maybe feet to inches, well, once I realize a foot is the same as 12 inches, I could say, well, 1 foot equals 12 inches. 2 feet equals 24 inches. 3 feet equals 36 because this is growing. Now, if I start this table, but say my next number is 14, I don't want to continue going to 14, but maybe I could see a pattern here. So how did the 1 go to 12? How did the 2 go to 24? How did the 3 go to 36? Hopefully you're seeing the pattern is times 12. So that pattern helps me skip a whole bunch of numbers and get down to 14. And then I could just do some side work and figure out what is 14. What is 14 times 12? Because that's not what I would usually know in my head. So I could just do some little side work, figure it out. And 14 times 12 is 168. So what that tells me is 14 feet is equal to 168 inches. Okay, I could do that table for any conversion. So maybe the problem wants me to convert between yards and feet. Well, this picture shows me that 1 yard, is 3 feet. So then I know 2 yards is 6 feet. 3 yards is 9 feet. But what about 10 yards? Well, the pattern, if I see, is multiply by 3. So 10 yards would be 30 feet. I could even do a more challenging one between maybe yards and inches. Well, let's see. 1 yard is the same as 12, 12, and 12, 36 inches. Well, so what would 2 yards be? It's going to be 2 36s, which is 72. And then 3 yards, I could continue going and add 36 each time. So this picture, if you draw it a lot, it'll help you kind of see everything you would need to create these tables. Okay, so what are our steps tonight? Our steps are, and I have them all written for you today because there's a lot to do. So you're going to determine if your measurements are in metric or US customary by underlining all the measurement words. So we're going to be saying, are we using metric system for meters, or are we using any of these US only words? Then you're going to check the question to see if it tells you what measurement your answer needs to be in. Sometimes it will say your answer needs to be in yards, or sometimes it might say meters, or sometimes it just says solve and then you could choose. Then you're either going to create a table to help you convert or use King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So if it's US customary, you're going to be making these tables, but if it's meters, you're just going to be using what we did in the last lesson to make conversions. And then you're going to convert measurements directly in the question. So we're going to cross it out and rewrite it. And then we're going to solve a pretty complicated word problem. Okay, so what does this really look like? All right, so here are some of my practice ones. I'm going to get my steps up there to be able to turn to if I need them. Okay, so my first word problem is, in 1 hour, a snail traveled a distance of 3,600 millimeters. Then Andres picked up the snail and carried it for a distance of 10 meters. How many meters did the snail travel that day? Okay, so what I'm noticing is I see 3,600 millimeters. I see 10 meters. And then, okay, so I automatically know I'm not using US because US is yards, feet, inches, miles. But meters is my metric system. So I see that I'm going to be using the metric system. Okay, next it says, check the question to see if it tells you what your measurement needs to be in. Well, my question says, how many meters did the snail travel that day? So that means that I need to change the millimeters to meters because they want everything in millimeters. Okay, so now it says create a table to convert or use King Henry. Well, because this is the metric system, I'm going to use King Henry to do my conversion. So I need to change 3,600 millimeters equals how many meters? Well, okay, so my number is 3,600. Remember, when it doesn't have a decimal, I need to add one. Okay, so let's set up our King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And I am working today on this problem with millimeters. And I'm working with a base measurement of meters. Okay, so I'm going to be going from millimeters to meters. So I'm going to go not to centi, not to deci, but to base meters. So I went 1, 2, 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3 to the left. So 3,600 millimeters is the same as 3.6 meters. Okay, so I did my conversion. Now it says convert measurements directly in the question. So I'm just going to cross this off, and I'm going to change it to 3.6 meters. Okay, now let's solve it. So now what does my problem say? In 1 hour, a snail traveled a distance of 3.6 meters. Then Andres picked up the snail and carried it for a distance of 10 meters. How many meters did the snail travel that day? Well, the snail actually traveled 3.6 meters, and then Andres picked him up for 10 meters. So I know I'm going to add them. Now when I add, I know I have to line up the decimal. So I'm going to change my 10 to 10.0. So I add, line up, and carry down my decimal. I am saying my snail traveled a total of 13.6 meters. Okay, let's try another one. All right, I'm going to go back to my steps. Ready? And here's my new question. Madison planted a red pine evergreen tree in her yard. The tree is supposed to grow 18 inches every year. Madison is going to build a tree house in her tree once it reaches a height of 15 feet. How many years will she have to wait to build her tree house? Okay, so I see 18 inches and I see 15 feet. So I know in step 1 that I'm dealing with US here. I'm dealing with the US customary measurement. Okay, step 2 says, check the question to see if it tells you what measurement your answer needs to be in. Well, my question says how many years will she have to wait to build her treehouse? So it really doesn't matter if I change the inches to feet or the feet to inches. Okay, so step 3 says, create a table to help you convert or use King Henry. Well, because this is US, I'm going to create a table. So I could use this little yard idea to help me. And remember, there's 12 inches. So when I draw stuff like this, it just gets really sunk into my memory, and that took me about 2 seconds. Okay, so my table, I either need to change inches to feet or feet to inches. I think I might change feet to inches. So I know 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. 2 feet is 24 inches. I need to get all the way to 15. So what's my pattern here? Well, 1 times 12, 2 times 12. So I know it's going to be 15 times 12. So if you don't know that, just go to the side and solve it. What is 15 times 12? Let's see. 2 times 5. I'm saying 15 times 12 is 180. Well, that tells me then that 15 feet is 180 inches. So my next step says I'm going to change it right in my question. Okay, so now let's see what this says. So now her tree is going to grow 18 inches every year, She needs to wait for it to be 180 inches to build her treehouse. How many years is that going to take her? Well, there's lots of different ways we could solve this. I might just kind of write it out. 1 year, she's going to get 18 inches. 2 years, well, she'll get another 18. So 18 plus 18 is 36. 3 years, it's going to grow another 18. So we could say, what's 18 now? Well, I'm getting 54. 4 years, it's going to be another 18. So I'm getting 72. 5 years, it's going to be another 18. So I'm getting 90. Oh, you know what I just realized? 90 inches. So in 5 years, it's going to be 90 inches. Well, I know 90 is half of 180. So if she gets 5 years 90, and then another 5 years, another 90, when I put those two together, that means in 10 years, she's going to have 180 inches. So I think she's going to have to wait 10 years to build that treehouse. You also could have done this by just maybe dividing. That would have also been maybe a good strategy. 18 can't go into 1, but 18 can go into 18 one time. 1 times 18 is 18. Carry down my 0. And remember, when I divide, I always need something on top of every last number. So 18 can go into 0 0 times. So that would have also given me the 10 years. But my answer is Madison's going to have to wait 10 years to build that treehouse of hers. Okay, let's try some together. All right, I'm going to put my steps away, so you're going to have to refer to yours. Okay, here's our first problem. Jennifer has a piece of ribbon that measures 5 yards. She also has 8 presents that need bows. She uses 2 feet of ribbon per bow. Does Jennifer have enough ribbon to make a bow for each present? If she has ribbon left over, how much extra does she have? If she doesn't have enough ribbon, how much is she short? Okay, so what I saw was 5 yards and 2 feet. Okay, so I automatically know this is not the metric system, because metric system is meters, liters, and grams. So this is US. Okay, so we need to change 1. Now, when I look at my question, nowhere does it tell me which one I have to use. So it really doesn't matter which one we use. I think I'm going to change my yards to feet. So 1 yard equals 3 feet. 2 yards equals 6 feet. And we need to get all the way to 5. So the pattern that I'm seeing is times 3. So I know that 5 yards is the same as 15 feet. Okay, so now let's read this. Jennifer has ribbon. She has 15 feet of ribbon. She needs 8 bows for her 8 presents and 2 feet of ribbon per bow. Well, if she needs 8 bows, that would be 8 presents or 8 bows times 2 feet each. She needs 16 feet. That's how much she needs. 16 feet needed. Well, she only has 15 feet. So she doesn't have any left over. She's actually short. She's going to be short 1 foot. That would be our answer. Okay, let's try another one. Marco's teacher is getting new whiteboards installed. If each new whiteboard measures 1.5 meters in length, how many whiteboards are needed to fill a space that's 750 centimeters long? Okay, so I see 1.5 meters and 750 centimeters. Okay, my question says, well, first of all, we know meters is metric system. Okay, so but my question just says how many whiteboards are needed to fill a space that's that big. It doesn't really say my answer has to be in meters or centimeters. So I can choose to change either one. I think I'm going to change the 1.5 meters. Let's change 1.5 meters into centimeters because we need them to match. Okay, so because it's metric system, we're using king, Henry, died, buy, drinking, chocolate, milk. And we're going to be dealing with meters, which is our base measurement. And we're going to be dealing with centimeters. Okay, so we're going to go 1.5 meters to centi. So 1, 2. So I went 1, 2 to the right. So 1, 2 to the right. So I'm saying that 1.5 meters is the same as 150 centimeters. So let's change that. Okay, so now if each whiteboard's 150 centimeters and she needs to fill 750 centimeters, how many whiteboards are needed? So now we just kind of have to figure this out. Well, if she gets one whiteboard, that's going to be 150 meters. 2 whiteboards would be 300. 3 whiteboards would be 450. 4 whiteboards would be 600. And 5 whiteboards is going to be 750 centimeters. So our answer is, 5 whiteboards would cover the big space. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're feeling okay with this. We will be practicing this Wednesday in class. You have 2 problems to try on your own, and then as always, rate yourself. Have a good evening. Good night.